We're extremely excited that we have this opportunity to work with George and Helen and everyone else and Macmillan Publishing, Potts Point Bookshop to launch the extraordinary book that has just been.
We're very lucky. How often do you get to meet a pixie? And this is a she. And there was a time when I did a casting call in the SS Club in Peshawar, and I needed a small person for my film. And I suddenly found myself in this little room with every hunchback freak and two-headed monster in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and it was terrible.
I wasn't there, by the way.
No, I needed Ralph. I badly needed Ralph on the door. But suddenly the door opened, and this little being full of light came into the room, and there was a woodsman with him. And he said, I said, "Where did you find him?" And he said, "In a forest." So she's been with us ever since, and he's now the most famous actor in Afghanistan, and he's going to sing you our theme song.
There's no business like show business like no business I know. Everything about it is a feeling. Everything the traffic will allow. No very good you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra ball. There's no people like show, people like smile when they are low. Even with the turkey that you know well for, you may be standing out in the cold. Still you will change it for your sit up and go. Let's go on with the show.
It's super exciting, but George, I've got a couple of questions for you. I've always got a lot of questions for you, but one of the key themes that's rolling through this exhibition, and one of the key moments I think in your life, was the old Sufi. Is that a reasonable?
Well,
moment?
yes. When I was a kid, I loved Audrey Beardsley and William Morris, and I discovered, the Sufis. And I was at Kingsgrove North High School. I said to the art teacher there, "How about letting us do Islamic art?" As Denise can remember this. And the headmaster said, if you can get 6 or 7 other students, maybe, they know textbooks, and I did. And that love has been there ever since, and that's part of Rashid and Afghanistan. And part of that was just looking at Sufi literature. The great poets, Jalaluddin Rumi is as famous in their world as Shakespeare is in ours, but unfortunately few people know about him. I never knew a Sufi until I made Miscreants of Tullywood, and I met the very old Sufi, 115-year-old Sufi here, and they all recognise me as a Baba, as an old Sufi. I'm 66, so I'm not really like the real old Sufis, but so there's the 3 Sufis there, me and the old Sufi of Pakistan, and our beloved Sayyid Muhammad, the Sufi of the Yellow House. And the sad thing is that the Wahhabis, the Saudis, have got a bounty on Sufis, and they've committed a genocide against Sufis around the world, in Mali, Pakistan, Afghanistan. They've destroyed all their shrines in Saudi Arabia. They not only did 9/11, but they're wiping out a people, a great people. And one day I came into the main park in Jalalabad, and I heard heavenly music, and came up to it, and it was the old Sufi, and he decided not to be in hiding anymore, but to come out and play his music. And I knew that he'd be killed within an hour, so I scooped him up, took him to the Yellow House, and he's like an old tribal Aboriginal. He started teaching the kids at the Yellow House these ancient songs. He was the last to remember them. They're oral songs, they're not written down. And sadly, one of the negative effects of coming back to Australia for the Peace Prize was, while I was here, the old Sufi felt emboldened, and he went out to a neighbouring province to do his music. And IS, that's Daesh, these are the people that have destroyed Palmyra and Mosul. they not only destroy ancient art, they destroy contemporary art. They came in and they smashed his harmonium, and they cut out his tongue, and they removed his head. And the portrait I did of him in this exhibition was done while he was still alive. And this is him. His music was ecstatic, and he would bring the landscape to life when he played his harmonium. And for me, there's two important people in my life as an artist. There's the preacher, who was a similarly brave person in Rwanda, and there's the old Sufi. So there he is.
I mean, there are influences all through your work. One of the questions that I've had, it sort of relates more to stylistic. It's the place of colour in your work. And I think this exhibition is pretty extraordinary because you're dealing across the board with some pretty intense, you know, you've seen the best of the world and the absolute most horrific sides of the world. The place of colour and the influence of people like Van Gogh in your work. And I mean, this
was painted with, one day I was out with the ice cream sellers and I saw this man that looked identical to Vincent. His name was Noor Gul. And he was like a replica, you know, like Vincent had been reborn in Afghanistan. And it turned out he loved to draw and paint. So I actually went out and we set up our easels and we did these paintings in the landscape together. So not only did we created the Yellow House, we created a place for an Afghan Vincent. And one of the greatest joys of my life, I feel like Gauguin going out with Vincent van Gogh into the beautiful fields of Afghanistan. I'm painting with this absolute doppelganger for Vincent.
He's quite extraordinary. He can be seen online, I think.
Yeah.
So it's
About this book is that I believe that at the moment they're putting all the works, you can get all the works in the Louvre online, and same with a lot of the other museums of the world. I believe with an artist like me, like John McDonald said, George, I like your art, but really it's your life that's the major creation. Well, you can have both. So, you know, this publication is like an anticipation of the kind of publication you can have in the future where you'll be able to get a book where you can get my films, you can get my diaries, and it's that whole thing. And recently when Helen and I were in Amsterdam for the documentary festival, we went to the Van Gogh Museum and they've got a book of all of his paintings and they've matched the paintings to the diaries. And I think an artist's life is inseparable from the work. So in a way, as an artist, I've spent my life creating one big graphic novel. And this book is a chance to go on those adventures on that graphic novel with me.
yeah, and it certainly has that feel, having delved into many of the sketchbooks. There's a work here behind us which a lot of you would have seen in the Art Gallery in New South Wales in the Sulman Prize just recently, and it's taking on a truly epic feel about it. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about it, because I think it is a great example of the way you tend to pick not only moments in time, but then continually go back and readdress issues and events. And you know, like your diaries, your paintings can be
Well, the most important moment in history at the moment is this election, which comes up on the 8th of November in America. And I'll be there. I'll be in Miami, and I'll be in the toughest black area. And people feeling betrayed by their government, even by Obama, and yet what's in front of them now looks even worse. And yes, I've always placed myself at that moment in history. But this painting is the beast, and really it's Donald Trump. We've got some more pictures which are closer and more accurately look like Donald Trump. But I could make a similar picture of Hillary Clinton. I've got no more respect for her because you know, the corruption, and I've actually been assisting Julian Assange release the information on Hillary. I think the world needs to know. Who cares about the actual election, about how corrupt and fucked up America really is. And Australia has continually followed America into these wars. We were great at peacekeeping, paintings like Maro and Aliwa in Somalia when we were helping with the famine, East Timor, Cambodia, all these places where Australia had a great role. And then we followed America into the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we've got all our poor soldiers coming back with post-traumatic stress. So this painting's saying, well, when the inequity between the rich and the poor becomes so extreme, it creates monsters, and Trump and Clinton are two of them, and particularly Trump. And I was on, I joined the group, just like I'm going to be at this election, in Zuccotti Park, with Occupy Wall Street. And when Zuccotti Park happened, I was there with all these people who are in America, young students, unionists, people who feel that they've lost their income, their reason for living, and all the money. And I can't understand how in Australia we thought it was great to get rid of all of our jobs. I did heavy industry. There's someone here tonight who bought my heavy industry painting, Larry Smith. How it advantaged Australia to make people like Clive Palmer and Gina Reinhardt incredibly wealthy, and take away all of our industrial jobs, all of our heavy industry, our manufacture. We're losing Holden, Ford and Toyota. We won't be able to make anything anymore, and yet we're spending $50 billion, 50,000 million. We're closing Sydney College for the Arts, but we're spending $50,000 million, and it'll grow to $80,000 million on 12 fucking submarines. 12 diesel submarines. How stupid is that? People are debating everything else, but we will be broke for centuries paying back this money to France. What is it, a reward for the fact that they polluted the Pacific with their nuclear tests and destroyed the Rainbow Warrior? What's that all about? Why isn't that on Q&A? Why isn't that in the news? Why aren't people discussing that? So it's a strange world. I've watched a series, someone who's spent their life at war and seen how badly war is reported and world affairs are reported in Australia. I watched this TV series, The Blacklist, and then there's this guy projects the idea that there's a cabal that really runs the world, and from my experience that's true. And I don't know what these super rich people are going to do when there's no one who can afford to buy their products anymore. So that's George Gittoes on his soapbox. That's obviously the superficiality of Trump and Wall Street. Like if he becomes president, we've got the most kitsch individual that ever lived, the most anti-art person that's ever come onto this planet. I mean, his idea of what looks good as a poker machine in Las Vegas. So it's got all that sense of it, but as an artist, it's very hard. My style has evolved, and so if you look at this painting of the preacher, and this one of
The Sufi,
the Sufi, and this one of the beast, and also this self-portrait. I'm using lacquers and transparency, and unlike these artists that project paintings like for the Archibald onto a canvas and then paint over them, which to me is just illustration, it's just colouring in, I still draw. So a painting like this is hand-drawn, it's out of my heart, out of my soul. And my mother, who was a ceramist, has always said, George, for a work of art to live, you've got to put your soul into it, you've got to give it a soul. So my mother used to make things like little owls and stuff, and she's dead now, but their eyes still follow us around the house. This critter is very alive, and if you look at the eyes, even in my self-portrait over here, they're alive. And I don't believe you can do that by projecting a slide onto a canvas and painting over it. So the yobs that give the prizes to the people who win the Archibald, like the one that won this year, they think these people can draw. But they can't draw, they just project the picture onto a canvas, they trace over it and they colour it in. That's colouring in, that's not art. And there's this idea that if something looks like a photograph, it's really art, but these people must hate Picasso. They must hate Matisse. And they can express that hate by doing that kind of painting. So this is art which is drawn from the heart and soul, from me. It's not something from a photograph.
So in this whole process, and certainly over the last few years, Helen Rose has been involved, partner in dynamism, I think is probably the best way of describing it. And I think we're going to ask her to come up and sing. And so from here, after Helen's finished up we're here, we have the books, we have George, we have these amazing opportunities to have conversations. As I said, thank you very much all for coming.
But one thing about the book, before you do that, Angus, that this book is an incredible thing done by Pam McMillan, the designer Daniel New, and Angus Fontaine. This book would not have been possible without them. It's a very interesting product. It's exactly the work of art I want it to be. So the fact that publishers like Pam McMillan are able to take that risk and that time, I think that the book itself is a work of art. It's a treasure. It's something you can open and feel like it's one of my creations, one of my diaries. And I think that's the future of publishing, because against all the odds, you know, CDs, you can't go into a record. My favourite thing used to be to wander in a record store late at night and go through and come away with a few vinyls or CDs. Now it's all electronic. It looked like it was going that way with books as well. But the good news is that even Amazon are opening bookstores, that books are flourishing. And for people like Ralph who've had the courage to keep, like galleries are closing all over Sydney, keep the doors of galleries open. It's wonderful that people still love real books and real paintings. So, and now on to the great, beautiful love of my life. We saw the Frida Kahlo exhibition, and we've read about Brett Whiteley and Wendy in the recent book. But this is true love. Helen and I do magic together. We've got our circus in Afghanistan, but this brave lady has actually married a gambler, and she's got a very special song for you tonight.
Oh yeah, every girl dreams of marrying a gambler. And running away with the circus, and I've done it, girls and boys, and wow. The Sufi, we need more Sufis. We need to remember our spirit. We need to remember our druids. We need to feel again magic. And magic is real, if only our hearts were open to feel.
Yeah.
So I'm singing this tonight, not only for a beautiful gambler, which is my beautiful husband, I call him that, and but it's for my beautiful Sufi as well, who in the garden in Jalalabad, when we were singing, created golden light and just gestured to me, we're bringing God down to earth. And I was in ecstasy, and what people take drugs for, but this was an ecstatic moment. And when we learned that he died, I dreamed. He came to me in my dream, and he just did the opposite. He just went, like this. I've gone back to God. There is no fear except fear itself. This is called the gambler. Gute Napa, gute. Zazam zarjar warga sara. The ring is on my finger, but my gold choker's already at the lone shore. The ring is on my finger, but my gold choker's already at the lone shore. Oh, mother, I'm gonna go be free with the gambler. Oh, mother, I'm gonna run, be free with the gambler. I don't care if the stakes are high. I just care about your dry lips. my lips. Zamajananda Lewanya. Oh, my gambler lover, our graves already dug, our coffins measured up, our fate's already sealed, the fast stone has hit my back. Oh, mother, I'm gonna run for my life with the gambler. Oh, mother, I'm gonna run, be free with the gambler.